Welcome to the Moviegoers Society podcast, brought to you by Nerdtropolis. I'm your host, Sean Tajipour, the mayor of Nerdtropolis, and joining me is my co-host, Drew Munhausen, the professional media and movie mastermind. Happy New Year, Drew. I see that you're taking a night swim, it seems like, but first off, Happy New Year's. And do you have a New Year's resolution other than not going to the pool at night?
Is seeing more movies an acceptable New Year's resolution? I see so many already, but I just feel like I want to keep expanding that knowledge. So watch more if it's even possible.
It is possible, especially when you are a co-host and we do this awesome Moviegoer Society podcast. I think that's also mine. I think it's very fitting for both of us. I think the more we watch, the more we can talk about. And now we're going to have like a full year of doing this. We got a late head start last year, but it's super exciting to do this. You know, a lot of people might be listening to the Moviegoers Society for the first time. So in this podcast, we do dive into the world of cinema, exploring everything from beloved classics to the latest blockbusters. And yeah, this is episode 25. And shall we call it season 2 of the Moviegoers Society?
Hey, that works. I like that. Season 2.
Yeah, season 2, but we're going to have a full season with this year as we're kicking off 2024. But Drew, I think there's some breaking news we got to talk about. It was your birthday the other day, man. Happy birthday to Drew. I got you right there. Everyone at Nerdtropolis wants to wish Drew a happy birthday. Even my parents and fiance say happy birthday, Drew. So happy birthday. I'm going to say it a million times. I hope it was a great birthday weekend for you.
It was. It was nice that it fell on a Saturday for once. So like got to actually celebrate it on my actual birthday instead of like having to push it to the weekend when it happens on a weekday. It was really nice. And we had it was 55 degrees and sunny here. It was just a truly beautiful day. I couldn't have asked for better.
Not a good day for the poll, as we can see behind you. One of the 3 movies we'll be talking about. But before we get into all of that, we want to make sure you can connect with us online. You can find me on every single social media platform at Sean Todd. You can find Nerdtropolis at Nerdtropolis. And don't forget to visit nerdtropolis.com for your daily dose of movie news, reviews, interviews, and trailers. And Drew, where can they find you when you're not contributing to Nerdtropolis?
You can find me at Drew Munhausen on all the different social media platforms and weekly over at Fresh Out the Podcast. We actually just did our top 3 movies, TV shows, and games of 2023 over there. It was a fun show.
Oh, that is exciting. I missed those guys. I have to pop in sometime this year. That maybe needs to be part of my resolution to find some time. But also don't forget to catch up on past episodes of the Moviegoer Society. Once again, we're on episode 25. That's 24 episodes you got to go check out. Tune into my podcast, Nerdtropolis Mayor Presents, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Nerdtropolis YouTube channel. And I have some upcoming episodes I'll be dropping. I'm going to be talking. I already spoke to them. So you got the star of Percy Jackson, Grover himself. And also I spoke to the director of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. And I have a lot more coming as well. Drew, there's a lot going on as 24 hits. But one of the biggest things we could talk about briefly is we announced our winners of the Nerdtropolis Movie Awards. All our winners are on our website. You can check it out. But I'm going to mention just a few of them. We did the best action movie of the year for 2023, and that went to John Wick Chapter 4. Best animated film of the year went to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. And I know it was, when I was talking to the director, Jeff Rowe, I told him it was a crazy year for animation, but Mutant Mayhem on top, and he was very thankful for that as well. I guess another one, comic book movie of the year, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And there's a handful more, but you got to go to nerdtropolis.com to see all of our awards winners. And speaking of awards, tonight is the Golden Globes. Are you stoked for that, Drew?
Yes, I feel like they don't have the same level of prestige, if you can call it that, as they once had, but it really feels like the award season is kicking off. So I'm excited to watch it and see if there's some surprises or some silly antics. Usually there's something funny to report back on.
There's no prestige like the Nerdtropolis Movie Awards. I'll tell you that. That is the pinnacle of awards.
Well, and just to further shout out the Nerdtropolis Movie Awards, it's different than your normal awards, right? Like it's, there's variations on Best Actor and Actress, but it's not all the same awards you see everywhere. There's some unique categories there. It's a fun array of movies that maybe are not the ones that get recognized in the more critics focused shows, I guess you could say. So yeah, go check it out. It's a fun spread.
And speaking of the critics Choice Awards is happening next weekend, and I will be in attendance in that one. So I'm excited to head out to the West Coast and take in my first Critics' Choice Awards. We did our nominations last month, and I think the other day we just did our voting. So crossing my fingers, some of my favorites make it to the top and win. So that's super exciting. Yeah, awards season kicking off early. It feels like we're only just a weekend to 2024, but it's gonna be a busy year. You have a movie you're anticipating the most for 2024?
Oh man, that's a good question, and I wasn't ready for it. Probably right now, in the immediate future, I'm looking forward to Dune Part 2 coming out March 1st. I love the first Dune that Denis Villeneuve did, and so I'm really excited for the new one. As far as like your typical big blockbusters, like especially in the comic book front, we're a little bit more limited this year. But I am looking forward to whatever Joker 2 Folie à Deux is going to be. You know, we have to see. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, that's gonna be a good one. I am definitely excited for Deadpool 3. Got to see what Marvel's going to deliver. You know, with Marvel kind of dropping the ball, to be honest. I want to see what they did. But to be honest, I'm excited about Beverly Hills Cop 4 coming to Netflix. I just rewatched all three of them and I had a great time. So I'm excited there's a fourth film coming. It's sad it's a Netflix film. It's not going to have a theatrical or maybe a small one, but I'm looking forward to that. I think there's a lot of sequels and, you know, follow-ups and for this year. There's a lot going on. It's kind of wild. And there's a big list that's been circling online of a list of everything that's coming out and it's sequel, prequel, whatever you want to call it. It's kind of wild that's what 2024 is going to bring.
Are you a Minions fan? Are you looking forward to Despicable Me 4?
Is that coming out this year?
I believe so.
I am all for the Minions, actually. They're always a fun time. I like the Minions. I'm up for that. I think we even get Venom. We're getting also the Venom 3 is popping this year. There's a lot. So 2024 might be a better year than 2023. I said this before. I thought last year was pretty good, but not as great as it could have been.
And see, I'm on the opposite side. I thought 2023, I guess maybe it lagged in a lot of our typical like Nerdtropolis releases, the movies that we really look forward to as far as like our culture and the comic book movies and so on. From a prestige standpoint, the award season has kind of been fun. There's some really good movies to pick from. So strong in some ways, weak in others. It's going to be really interesting to see how the strikes that took place in 2023 affect the slate of 2024 films, because I think that we're going to start to see the impact of those strikes this year. And there might be some stretches where we're really yearning for some more good movies, but we'll see.
That is true, but there are a lot of gems that came out in 2023 compared to some bigger movies. A lot of good stuff. And, you know, we're going to kick off this podcast with 3 titles. We can start off. Drew, you went and saw the Book of Clarence the other day.
I did. I saw the Book of Clarence. This actually releases in theaters wide January 12th. So this upcoming weekend. It is directed and written by James Samuel, who you might be familiar. He did the Netflix film called The Harder They Fall. That was a Western with actually Lakeith Stanfield was in that as a supporting role, but with Idris Elba and a few others. And it was kind of this Western told through a black lens. And it's really fun because it infuses like some hip hop and modernity into the genre. And the Book of Clarence is doing the same thing, but with biblical epics. And so it's interesting. The Book of Clarence is kind of all over the place. Like the director, I said this in my review, James Samuel, the director, appeared on screen before the movie started, you know, to do the typical thing you see these days where the director thanks the audience for being there and kind of talks about the movie a little bit and what inspired him. And he said he loves biblical epics or epics set in biblical times like Ben-Hur and the 10 Commandments. And he labeled those movies. And he said that he's always thought it would be an interesting project to weave a fictional narrative into real history. And so he does that here with the Book of Clarence. And I think that it's overall pretty fun, but tonally kind of all over the place. Like at one moment you're getting chariot races, and another moment you're getting gladiator battles, and then later you're getting like a true drug hallucination, scene, like what you would see in modern comedies. But then there's true like religious revelations and things happening, and like a lot to do with Jesus Christ, and because it's during the time of Jesus Christ, and Lakeith Stanfield's character tries to claim to be a new Messiah to kind of compete with the likes of Christ, and get some glory for himself, and also earn some profits in the process. So it's definitely a bold story to tell, and I think overall it's a pretty good time. But like I said, just a bit all over the place. So I overall did like it. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars in my review. And I think it's worth checking out, but it is, it's coming out in the middle of January. And as we'll talk about when we get into the next movie we're talking about with Night Swim, the term dumpuary is usually used to describe January and February theatrical releases, just because it's a slow time. We're post all the awards prestige movies coming out around the holidays, but we're pre the big summer blockbusters. And so a lot of these smaller movies that are varying degrees of quality kind of get dumped into theaters at this time. And this one, I feel like I haven't seen as much promotion for it. I'll be interested to see what kind of reaction it gets from crowds, or how well it does. Night Swim, which we'll talk about in a bit, is like a true blue dumpuary release. Like just checks all the boxes.
Yeah, everyone's been talking about how January is for, lower quality movies, and I kind of hate that. Like, it shouldn't be. Like, you should just put out the best stuff in your eyes, and not have a month that's just for mediocre stuff, which is fine. The next one we're going to talk about is Ferrari, which came out during Christmas time, and Drew and I really didn't get a chance to talk about it, but is a compelling exploration of Enzo Ferrari's life. I'm a car guy, so it's really cool to see Enzo's Ferrari life on the big screen, played by Adam Driver. I know it's been getting a lot of flack playing another Italian, and he's like, I've only played 2 Italians. I'm like, well, we'll wait till that third time, and then people are going to have well, I think is he playing Robert De Niro's character from Heat in the Heat 2 movie?
It's rumored.
No, they are. No, I don't think it's rumored. It's for sure. It's 100%. They're filming this year. And if that's the character he's playing, that'll be the third time he's playing an Italian, right? If it's playing the Robert De Niro character.
Yeah, and in Ferrari, he's playing like, how old's Adam Driver? He's like 39 or something.
Yeah, he's a little bit older than us, maybe just a tad, boy.
And he's playing 59 in Ferrari.
But they did pretty good, I thought. The hair and makeup was pretty darn good. I love Adam Driver. I thought he was great in this movie. I thought the cast was pretty darn good, and the story it's pretty solid, but I told you about this and you didn't have the same issue as me, but I had a real problem with some of the CGI scenes, especially in the beginning too, like how they're trying to make it look like an old timey film. And I was like, that just looks something like some kid did in high school. That's what it came across to me. And then there's one really big tragedy in the film, and it just looked like clay figures at some point. Like, it just looked it's a daunting scene, but if you rewatch it, you're just like, it's a little iffy on the effects side. And it kind of took away on like how crazy that scene was. But I really love this film, and I wish it got more love. I think it kind of went unnoticed for various reasons. But I feel like it's an independent film that tells a really good story. Has a great director, Michael Mann, and Adam Driver as Enzo Ferrari.
Yeah, it apparently it's only made just less than 25 million at the box office, and they made this movie for $100 million. So
this is $100 million. This is $100 million movie.
Yeah,
Man.
Just about.
And the creator was an $80 million movie and looked amazing for that. And you got the Godzilla -1 with the $15 million budget.
I just wanted to push to talk about this one a little bit, because like, obviously Sean and I took a week off for New Year's, and because the show's been going strong, and naturally when that happens, especially on the holidays with so many releases, that means some movies get left behind, because we haven't been able to shine a spotlight on some other ones like The Color Purple and a few others that are out in theaters and have been reviewed well. And there are reviews for those on Nerdtropolis. Like, if you want to know what Sean thought of those, you can go check out those reviews. But this one I pushed for a little bit to want to talk about just because I went and saw it, and with low expectations. I'm not like the biggest Michael Mann fan out there. I love Heat, and I like Collateral a whole lot. And so he has some movies that I really like, but there's some misses for me as well. And so I went into this one with kind of medium expectations, I'd say, and I put it on my top 10 of the year. I really, really enjoyed it. And I do understand what you're saying about the CG. For me, it didn't take away from those big scenes. There were multiple scenes in this movie where I gasped out loud because I just wasn't expecting it, and seeing it in a theater on the big screen, it just was like a little bit shocking. But I think that it's unfortunate this movie's not doing well from a financial standpoint, because from a movie star standpoint, I think Adam Driver's been one of our great up and coming movie stars of the past few years, and a movie like this to me really cements him as a movie star. Just the presence and how he's able to carry this movie and play this character who's much older than him, but just his presence, it's really, really well done. And I just wanted to be able to shout it out because I liked it so much. And if anybody goes to check out this movie based on our recommendation, I consider that a win because it's one that I really enjoyed this year.
I'll watch anything Adam Driver's in. He's, to me, really underrated for some reason, I think, to this day. And he's been in a lot of great stuff, and everyone has always complimented everything he's done. And I just want to see more of him. What movie? 65. I watched 65 one day, and I enjoyed it, and I thought he was really good in that. Put him in anything, sci-fi, a biopic, anything like that. What was the other one? Is the Gucci one? Is that what it was?
House of Gucci.
Yeah, House of Gucci is really good as well. And so, put him in anything. And he's so funny too when he pops up on like SNL, And I was reading that he hates reading the cue cards, so he memorizes anything, so it's more natural. And I think that's why it comes off funnier, because he's not really reading anything; he just has the lines memorized.
Yeah, he can do comedy pretty well.
Yeah, there is that one also, I think, Marriage Story on Netflix with Scarlett Johansson. Have you seen that one?
Yes, love that.
That was
movie.
A good one. And that's a really good one. And that kind of showcases how awesome Adam Driver is. But yeah, Ferrari, if you're a movie lover, car lover, this is a really good movie. Surprised you said it had $100 million budget. I don't know where it was spent per se, maybe on some of the big names, because there are some big names with Penelope Cruz and the sexiest man alive is in this as well. Patrick Dempsey, which didn't have that drastic of a role. I kind of would have liked him seeing him more maybe early on as well.
After seeing him essentially as a lead in the Thanksgiving slasher movie just a couple months ago. Yeah, when he popped up in this, I was like, oh, I forgot he's in this. And after seeing it, you might forget that he's in it too, because his role's not that big.
No, it's
although he's rocking some gray, white gray hair in it. So like I'm happy to have him as part of the club there.
And I think it's more see that it's natural for him too. But he is a car guy too. He's a big time race car driver. So like I'm kind of surprised. Like awesome, he's in it, and he plays a race driver, but his role is very limited. Maybe another project comes along that's automotive based that he will be more heavily involved in, because I know he's super passionate for the sport. And that leads us to the big movie of the year, the biggest movie of the year, because it's the first one of the year technically, with Night Swim. It is produced by James Wan's Atomic Monster and Blumhouse, and it focuses on Ray Waller, played by Wyatt Russell, who I absolutely love. If you have not seen Monarch, Legacy of Monsters on Apple TV Plus, watch it. You got Wyatt Russell and his dad, Kurt Russell, playing the same character. It's amazing. I think they just rolled into episode 10 recently for season 1. So definitely go watch that. But Wyatt plays a former baseball player battling an illness, and his family moves into a new home with a pool, which holds a dark secret. Drew, I think like everyone else, the movie started off really strong. I thought before it kind of went into the deep end and just kind of was not what I was expecting when you say James Wan and Blumhouse.
So the concept for this I found to be really appealing, because as a child growing up, I was fortunate enough to live in a house where we had a pool. in the backyard. And kind of a pool very similar to this. It had a diving board. It was pretty long, so it had a
Was
deep
it this
end.
deep though? Because this pool seemed really deep, which was really odd. It
I
was
feel like ours was not as deep as this one, but I do think if you have a diving board, you have to go like
true.
around 8 feet deep underneath of it.
Oh, this
so,
one
like,
had to be at least like 12 to 15.
it looked really deep. I had the same thought when watching this. And like when they have the pool drained at one point, it looked super deep.
Which neighborhood pools are like this, which I understand, especially when you have a diving board.
Yeah, and as you know, growing up with the pool, going swimming at night is a common thing. Like it's a fun thing to do. Sunsets, you turn on the light in the pool, go swimming, and typically you have patio lights and things on, so it's not just total darkness in a lit pool as the scenes in this movie are. But playing Marco Polo and yelling fish out of water and getting out and swimming with the lights on, like it is a vibe. So and it can be kind of creepy at times. So setting a movie in that, I thought was smart. And this, it's based on a short film that the director did, and then he got to expand it to a full feature. And boy, does it feel stretched to me. Like I think that I hate to say this, Sean. I feel like you can watch the trailer for this movie, which shows a Marco Polo sequence, and like you're good. Like that's one of the best scenes of the movie, or one of the better scenes. And if you've seen that, like I don't know if you need to subject yourself to the rest of the 98 minutes or 95 minutes of this movie. But
yeah, that's really
true. I have
true.
some notes to go through in a bit too.
That's very true. If you watch that trailer, watch that scene. That is the scene. The scene doesn't even go much further. I feel like nothing really even happens from that situation, which is kind of sad. It's just like no one's really getting hurt as much as you would think, or almost. There's a couple of scenes where it's pretty close to dying, but you would think with all the situations happening, there's more terrifying problems, and everyone would just like, let's shut down this pool or whatever. Everyone's kind of ignoring everything for some reason, and maybe they think they're just a little crazy. But I thought that the scares were pretty cheap. I get scared easily. Like I get scared so easily during these movies, and I was like, oh, my fear of like the deep end. And I remember some pools used to have like a dark blue bottom, where it looked like it was just like the abyss and just black. And so that's like one of my fears in some swimming pools that had that colored ground, the flooring. And so I was expecting to be scared, and I was not. And I thought there were some moments that were pretty laughable. Some of them were kind of predictable. And then when they showed some of the dead, I was like, what are these things? Like, these don't look like what you would expect. It's like they're CG dead people, which is like, did you have to go that route?
One of which kind of looks like Danny DeVito in a weird way.
Yes. Oh, I'm trying to figure out what that character reminded me of, and this sounds horrible because I'm a big Spawn fan. What's the Spawn clown name?
Isn't it just Clown? No. I know he's got like a real name other than that.
No, he has a real name, and I'm a big Spawn fan. I'm just drawing a blank. It's he's called the Violator. So
the Violator,
the
that's
Violator.
it.
Yeah, there's one guy that looks like the Violator a little bit, and also it was just wild. I was like, why are you doing some CG with some of the dead people? On top of that, the story gets really stretched, trying to explain what's going on with the pool, and there's some type of curse going on, but they just leave it at that, really. And I just had some questions afterwards. I'm like, how does this work out?
Yeah, I knew going into it, obviously the concept. What if there's a haunted pool? Okay, cool. It gets me in the door as somebody that's curious. I had no idea about any of like the Wyatt Russell storyline of being like this former pro baseball player who has like some sort of illness and is not able to play and is coping with that still, which like Wyatt Russell's pretty good and like pretty convincing, but it feels pretty tacked on, or you just have to have a human element here. And then also just talking about the scares, I agree with everything you said. This is a PG-13 horror movie, so that's worth noting. But like, to me, the scariest imagery of ghosts and water are like things underwater, like whether that's bodies or something. And like most of the scares in this movie come with seeing things outside of the water while you're in the water or things like that. I just feel like they didn't take full advantage of the concept. There's also a scene, not to spoil anything of like what's happening, where it's effective. I'm like, okay, this is getting into the scares that I want to see, is where there's a voice coming from one of like the pool filters on the side, and the young boy, the son in the movie is speaking to it or approaching it. And during the scene, I'm thinking, for me, if I hear a voice coming from the pool filter or, coming from the drain on the side, I'm out of that pool, whatever. And this boy was old enough that he should have been out too. Like, if you're
he was scared of too, he was so scared regardless. Like,
he still approaches it. I'm like, at least Georgie and it is young enough to, maybe you can buy that this young boy sees a clown in the sewer and wants to interact with it. Like, I would have been out for sure, but like, he's young enough. You're like, maybe. The kid in this movie is old enough that if you hear a voice coming from it, just get out and go, get away as fast as you can. It made me laugh a little bit.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that this is the way they went. They stretch out the whole thing. It's I guess we're gonna say spoilers real quick in case maybe this is a spoiler, but like I thought it was gonna be some dead people haunting the pool, but it's the pool that's really haunted from birth because of the water source, which is very odd to me. And they said it's around the area, so I'm like, the drinking water must be having the same issue. That glass of water they had on the counter seemed to be what from the sink and had powers. Like, it's kind of confusing.
It very much so, because they kind of have like, again, a tacked on line about the water of the pool being spring fed or something, but then they never really go into it beyond that. You don't really get a proper solution, I guess. Like, you kind of get what's happening with it, like what it does, but you don't really know why or how that started, other than some weird throwaway lines that don't really explain anything.
And the water makes you like stronger. Apparently, it'll take one person to make him like healthier, oddly too, while also taking a soul, which was very odd too. It's just a weird thing to think about.
Yeah, I took some other notes here. It made me laugh every time they refer to the pool in the movie, as if like there's a part where Wyatt Russell's character's at the doctor and he's talking to his doctor about the progress he's been making. And he says like the water therapy's really been helping. He goes, "We have a pool." And he says it in a way that's like, "We have a roller coaster at our house, but it's a pool." And there's many times they say things like they refer to, "We have a pool at our house." Like, it's this like magnificent thing, but like lots of people have pools. Now, of course the pool is the center of this movie because it's a haunted pool, but just made me laugh. There's a moment where Wyatt Russell refers to a character or a man as Steroid Shrek. And that made me laugh. And I made a note of that. Carrie Condon's in this movie too, plays the wife, and she was just recently Oscar nominated for The Banshees of Inisherin, and in a great performance in that movie. And so she's a lead here, and like I feel like she's trying her best, but like just some of these scenes are really, really pushing it with the drama they try to create.
But I like her character because she's like very smart. Like, she's the smartest person in that family and realizes quickly something's not right. Like, quickly. Everyone else seems to ignore it and not want to talk about it. I like Wyatt Russell in this. Like, I want to see more of him, obviously. But I think he made this kind of more watchable. I think without him, I don't know who else you would put in that role. I think he was very, I guess, charming at the same time to watch and see him turn as well. But then another spoilers, I guess, if we're talking spoilers anyways, was not expecting how it would end. And I thought that was a cop out at the same time, and it kind of made no sense. And everyone kind of ignored what was happening. And then they're like, "Oh, okay." It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I'll say this about Wyatt Russell. I think he's a really interesting actor. He kind of has so when he was in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier as John Walker, U.S. agent, I really liked the sense of menace he brought to that character. And Wyatt Russell just kind of has something about him where even when he's being nice, it's almost like there's a layer of I don't want to say insincerity, but like
He's like all American guy. He's like all American guy, but there's something about him that like you can't believe he's all American. There's something must be wrong with him for being seems to be so perfect, I think is what it is.
Yes, and it comes across in um Monarch Legacy of Monsters too. I feel like he has it, and it's in this movie as well.
It's part of the plot too about that as well.
Yeah, and like in this movie, he is a star baseball player, and he is like an overall nice guy as far as the character, the way it is on the page. But still, Wyatt Russell just brings this kind of strange sense of menace to it, and I think he's a really interesting actor for it. I haven't quite figured him out yet. Like I don't know, something like US Agent is really good casting for him and utilizes that in the right way. It'll be interesting to see what other kind of roles he gets in the future. Monarch Legacy of Monsters makes sense, right? Because he's playing the younger version of his dad. So that's kind of a cool gimmick in itself. But moving away from Kurt Russell, what does Wyatt Russell become? I'm interested to see.
I'm with you. I agree with everything you just said. Super excited, like what he becomes and what he's shown us is pretty darn interesting and different. I want to see him stand out in more stuff, but Night Swim was not for him. But we'll see what happens as James Wan's Atomic Monster and Blumhouse have they merged? It seems like into
yes, and this is the first. Yeah, this is the first one to come out since their merger. So this is the first movie they've really put out together.
Well, not a good start. I'll just leave it at that.
This is a rough one. Last year, Blumhouse kicked off the year with Megan, which, as divisive as that may be, because I know we had conversations about that movie a year ago, and it's one that I had fun with and kind of liked. And I if I remember correctly, you were not a big fan. Is that right?
Yeah, I was not. It wasn't scary. It wasn't anything. I mean, PG-13 movie. The Boogeyman scared me. I remember that. That was a movie that did really well, and I wish everyone learns from the Boogeyman and knows how to scare people when you're PG-13.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and I thought Megan was fun, and it was a big financial success. And Night Swim is not going to repeat that tradition of a Blumhouse January release. It didn't even come first place at the box office. It came in under Wonka, which made Wonka made 14 million in its I don't even know what week it's in its fourth week. So
that's pretty impressive, actually. That's pretty good numbers for Wonka. And other than some movies coming out this year, there's some shows coming out. This week we get the Echo series, and I'm gonna drop my review of the first 3 episodes tomorrow. I can't say much about it now, but I need to see the rest until I make it like a final commitment to like what
it's 5 episodes total, right?
I think it's 5 episodes, and I watched the first 3. All I say is I really need to see the next 2 to make sure my review is as authentic as it is, because I see why they're dropping all of them at once. That's all I can say on that one. Yeah. And then Peacock is getting the Ted prequel series, and I think I've watched 2 or 3 of those already, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It's live action Family Guy for me, and I absolutely love it. Great writing, I must say. I think it's some of the best writing in a raunchy rated R TV series I've seen. Seth MacFarlane, I think he's honestly a genius, and I'm glad he's giving us a Ted series. Is there a TV show, Drew, that you're looking forward to this year?
Oh man, putting me on the spot again. I'm actually really looking forward to the next season of True Detective. With Jodie Foster. I think it looks really solid, and the early buzz has been positive. Are there any other Marvel or Star Wars series coming out this year? I know there's Echo, which would not be on my most anticipated list, to be honest with you.
No, that means we've been sleeping on some of the stuff coming out this year, so maybe we have to go back and look at everything so we can.
I think House of the Dragon returns this year. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to Colin Farrell's return as the Penguin, in the Penguin series that will be on Max. So there's some things I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I don't watch that much TV based stuff just because unless they drop it all at once. I'm watching Reacher. Have you been watching Reacher?
I haven't. I watched a few episodes of the first season of Reacher, and I thought it was very good. And I like Alan Richardson a lot. Excuse me. But I feel like after a few episodes, I was like, okay, I get it. Like I'm good. My dad loves that show. My dad loves that show, and Jack Ryan on Prime. Those are his bread and butter.
That makes sense. But that's a good show. And once all the episodes drop, I'm sure you can just go and binge them all. And that's really where I'm at with TV shows. And that's why I don't watch as much, because I really enjoy binging more than waiting week to week, because I just kind of lose interest and sometimes honestly just forget what's happening. But this is the Moviegoer Society, and we try to focus as much on films because it's easier to do that than to wait week for week for new episodes. But if you haven't yet, check out previous episodes of the Moviegoer Society. Check out my podcast, Nerdtropolis Man Presents, where I interview directors and actors all on the Nerdtropolis Podcast Network. And once again, Drew, where can they find you?
You can find me at Drew Munhausen on all the different social media platforms. You can find me weekly at Fresh Out the Podcast.
Thanks again for joining us for another episode of the Moviegoer Society. Once again, I'm Sean Tajipour, the mayor of Nerdtropolis, and we will see you at the movies.